When news broke that the Knicks had had trade talks about Giannis Antetokounmpo this summer, there were a lot of places that Knicks fans went to digest and work through their emotions. Some of it was where the news broke, ESPN. Some of it was from their favorite beat writers. But for a lot of Knicks fans, the place they go to first is Knicks Film School and Jonathan Macri. And for that, I want to have John onto the show to talk about the kingdom that he's built up amongst Knicks fans and what I believe is to be one of the most interesting business models in all of sports media. And I want to get into that. But John, thank you for coming on to this episode of Business Decision.
It's my pleasure. I mean, kingdom, my lord. That is not a word that I have ever thought of associated with. I mean, maybe my house is a kingdom, or I guess I am the lead, the lion. That's the male lion, right? And then because I'm the only guy in the house. So,
Yeah. No, listen, I feel that. I don't know what that's like. I have no kingdoms. I am but a pauper everywhere. But there is a reason I said that. And I want to get into that with you. And I want to do a little bit of backstory. So I used to cover the Knicks once upon a time. I did about 4 to 5 years on the beat. I truly don't remember anymore. The time, it quickly escapes you when you cover the Knicks for any amount of time, really. And that's where I got to know John. And I got to see Knicks Film School in its early stages. And what year did you guys launch exactly? I forget.
Well, I mean, that's part of the story, I guess. I mean, originally, Knicks Film School was a Twitter account that launched in, I'm going to go with 2015 or 16-ish, so about 10 years ago. Yeah.
So it crossed my radar probably around 2018, I want to say 2017, somewhere around those times. Yeah, 2018, let's say. Yeah. And so now Knicks Film School is an entire enterprise, right? You have 47,000 YouTube subscribers. You have 1,000 people paying for you on the Patreon. You have, I don't know how many Substack subscribers to the Knicks Film School newsletter.
We're over 10. I'm hanging on for dear life.
Over 10,000, I assume, not 10.
No,
we wouldn't be having this conversation if it was just two hands worth.
No, we're over 10,000 on the Substack, which is important because I'm hanging on for dear life on their top 25 leaderboard for sports newsletters. But I want to stay in the top 25. It's very important to me.
Well, I'm a very happy subscriber, and if you're a Knicks fan or just a basketball fan and not subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. It'll be worth your time. It's actually a very smart and informative newsletter. Dare say very rational, which I don't know how a lot of people feel about that. But so you have this entire, you just started a Twitter show. You have a heavy Twitter presence. I'm sure there's an Instagram or TikTok presence that I don't know about, but I'm just not there. That's beyond me.
I haven't been there either, which is why it is a very light presence on those two formats. But that is one of the goals for the season, is to try to increase those.
Yeah. And so I find it fascinating because there's a lot of good work being done on the Knicks beat. Me as a traditional media person, reporter, I read Newsday, I read the New York Post, I read, obviously The Athletic, and I read, SNY with Ian Begley and the Daily News and all that type of stuff. But I know that a lot of people go to you first. And I wanted to talk to you about how you've come into the position that you have. Over time, there's always been team fans who start blogs, who start websites, who start podcasts. You have a podcast too. I think I forgot to mention that. But you've built it out into like a whole enterprise here, which I really find fascinating. And I think it speaks to kind of the way that people consume sports news now, fans consume sports news. And it speaks to this moment in time for media. And so having said all that, can you go into the backstory of Knicks Film School?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to give you the quick version. The first thing I do want to say, though, is like I appreciate all of the kind words, but Knicks Film School is a heck of a lot more than just me. I mean, I think there's like a dozen people technically at this point.
You employ people
under the you
pay people.
It is a full-time gig for me and for Andrew Claudio, who is like kind of my other half of Knicks Film School, who started behind the scenes, and now I feel like he's in front of the camera almost as much as I am. But it's more than just two of us. I mean, there's a ton of people who obviously appear in front of the camera. There are people who do work behind the camera for us. So, and every one of those people, most especially Andrew and Jeremy Cohen, who, I mean, it was kind of the three of us, like, go back the furthest. We all contribute and we all, make it what it is. And then I would be remiss, as you ask about the where it started and the backstory, not to mention my good friend Jeffrey Ballone, who I know you remember, and I'm pretty sure the
Hmm.
three of us were on a few podcasts together. He was the person that started the Knicks Film School Twitter account, and kind of that back in the it wasn't the early days of Twitter, but when he started the Knicks Film School Twitter account, there weren't a ton of people putting out film breakdowns of any kind on that medium, which is how he kind of it skyrocketed overnight, and from that Twitter account, basically grew what Knicks Film School is today. Me and JB got together. He's like, I want to do a newsletter. And I'm like, great, I want to do a podcast. And that was kind of the early seeds of what Knicks Film School has become. The newsletter launched in, I want to say, March of 2019, just as the Kevin Durant to New York fervor was reaching its fever pitch, where there was like a new rumor or whatever to go through every day. So, and then when they obviously that we know how that summer went. And then as we were approaching the following season, Jeff was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure I really want to write about this team anymore." He's like, "Do you want to take over the newsletter?" And writing has always been my first passion. So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so from that point forward, it's like, all right, I had the Knicks Film School newsletter, I had the Knicks Film School podcast, and that's really where it began in the form that it is today. And, I mean, I don't know. We could talk about why it has grown to the place that it is, and I'm not sure I even know the answer to that. But I think ultimately it comes down to, I would say it comes down to two things. Number one, the this is not a word, the nichification of
Hmm.
how people consume sports. And I don't know where that started. I don't know, has that always been around, and maybe there just weren't places that were able to give people what they wanted, but that's the way it is now. When a Knicks game ends, people don't turn on ESPN anymore to see. It's like they're gonna go to the sort, like where they want to
Yeah,
hear their
they're
team
not going to
talked about.
MSG Network. A lot of them are going to your after the game YouTube streams. They're waiting for your pod. They're waiting for your newsletter the next morning. I somehow found myself in a Twitter DM group with a lot of high net worth Knicks fans. Is how
I
I'll
think I'm in the
describe it.
same group.
Yeah, so I don't know how I got in there since I'm neither high net worth nor a Knicks fan, but there's a lot of people in there. There's one very famous musician, one very successful entrepreneur, I guess actually several many successful entrepreneurs,
I think there's a
lots of
few.
notable people in there. And I think of all the Knicks links they share, Knicks Film School is probably the top of the list in terms of frequency. And so you've resonated with people, right? And so I want to explain, you're not just a Knicks fan. You're not just someone who has started a successful company. Like once upon a time, you were a lawyer and a teacher.
Yeah.
Is this now your full-time job?
Officially, I was still getting paychecks from the New York City Department of Education as of August. I think my last paycheck was in like the first week of September. So yes, it is. And as you said, I mean, this it sounds messed up to say, but Knicks Film School exists. It has grown out of my own personal failures, and that is plural. Like I assure everybody listening, I did not go to law school to eventually do this work. I certainly did not become a teacher. No, I mean, I tried law. It wasn't for me. I was like, I got to do something that I feel pretty good about, because I just certainly did not feel good about being a lawyer. Went into teaching, and that gave me more spare time. And in that spare time, I like I knew teaching was not the sort of thing where I enjoyed it, and I found it rewarding, but it did not scratch that certain itch, that professional itch that has always kind of driven me to find, like, what am I here to do, other than be a good husband and father. And so that's why I started dedicating the time to it that I did. But, you know, it's funny you bring up, like, is this your full-time job? Because I feel like over the years, I would always read people like Shea Serrano's, I remember
Mhm.
resonated with me for some reason when he wrote like how meaningful it was for him to stop teaching, and because he was also a teacher, Zach Lowe was a teacher, a
Yeah.
lot of former teachers, and do this full time. And I I reached the point, honestly, probably several years ago where I could have given up teaching and pursued this full time. And I was not ready to, one, because I had a family and I was just frankly not ready to give up the income. And two, I was like, you know what? If I can keep doing both, I'm gonna keep doing both. And there's probably a part of that that's like a lack of confidence, was a lack of confidence into like, hey, can I really is this gonna be like my profession now? Like, am I good enough to do that? But here we are, and it's going, so far so good.
Well, listen, as someone else who also went to law school and is now in sports media, every failure is a potential success somewhere else, right? So think about it that way. But so this is what I want to get to. So this is a full-time job for you. You guys have grown this operation into something that is enough to support one person for his career. You pay others. You have so many subscribers. You have so many viewers, right?
Mm,
And it's fascinating to me because where we are in sports is a lot of what we are in all of media now, right? Politics is tribalism, right? And so people
yeah,
choose where they get their news. That is harder to do, I think, in sports because all the reporting is still done by, mainstream media. There's ESPN, there's The Athletic, there's
yeah,
SI, but people still want to choose where they get their news. And they've been able to go to Knicks Film School, and that's the place they want to go to. And it's really fascinating to me how you've built this place into something that can thrive, that can become this media entity of its own. That, whether you want to admit it or not, is pretty successful, and has gotten to the point where people say, "Okay, I know that maybe Ian Begley breaks some news, that James Edwards writes a great story, that Steph Bondi does great work on the Knicks beat. But the prism that I want to consume this is through Knicks Film School, John Macri, Andrew Claudio, some of the work that Benny Ritholtz does, or
yeah,
Jeremy Cohen with his cap breakdowns. Like, you guys have become in your way this first stop for so many Knicks fans. And I think
yeah,
we've seen sports fans start things, right? And the blogs were huge about a decade ago or
yeah,
2 decades ago, right? Like, it became the underpinning for the SB Nation. ESPN had blogs that they brought in, and a lot of those people have gone on to have long, fruitful media careers of their own.
yeah.
But I think the way you guys are doing it is not a blog. It's not fans doing fan stuff, let's say, to really dumb that down. But you have built something where you become a one-stop shop in so many ways.
We have. That's what the goal is wherever your fandom lies, however you want to fan, there is something here for you at Nick's Film School. But it's interesting to hear you phrase it in the context of Nick's news because, um, you know, the relationship between content and journalism has always been like, because there are still people like who refer to like when I went full time. I remember I forget where I was having this conversation, but I was talking to someone about like, well, what do I call myself now? I think it was because I mentioned that I referred to myself as a podcaster to a
You got to know what
parent.
to put on the LinkedIn. You got to know
Yeah,
how to describe yourself at parent gatherings at the park. What do you do? What's your job?
yeah. I was asked it by my daughter's friend's mom, and I was a podcaster was the first thing that came out of my mouth, and I'm like, that just sounds strange for a 42-year-old man to say. And somebody was like, you're a journalist, and I was like, I'm not a journalist, and I don't want to be a journalist, and I would never try to purport to be a journalist. You're a journalist, like James Edwards, Fred Katz, Ian Begley, Steph Bondi, Steve Popper, maybe even Mark Berman. These are
Shout out Mark Berman.
I'll always fire shots Mark's way if I can. No, these are you guys are journalists. You go to school for this, and you like literally painstakingly years and years and years go into honing your craft. And Nick's Film School, we would not be able to do what we do were it not for the journalists who cover the team full time and have that level of access. And I don't even mean to say that because the Knicks are the most
There
restrictive.
is no access with the Knicks. There's no zero access.
There is no
But
access with the
you're
Knicks.
getting, and I don't want to say this because I don't want to diminish the work that all of those beat reporters do on the Knicks. I was one. I They're all great at their jobs, and they report the news. They cover the team on a day-to-day basis. They are essential readings for Knicks fans. But I think it speaks to where we are in both sports media and how people consume it,
Yeah.
is that a lot of people skip that first step now. They go to the second step. They go through
Yes.
somewhere the second place in the funnel, right? Essentially. And that's where you guys have come in and made yourself, it
Well,
seems like, an essential aspect of that.
but so they
Listen, I would love if more people read the news the first place. Trust me, I would love if everyone read it there too.
a lot of people do skip the first step. I think some people because they like we're kind of dancing around it. We're at a place now where people would rather consume the reaction to the news than the news itself. But
Hmm.
there's even a further hurdle to jump, which is that, like, I was looking at like the Giannis story, and I was looking at, as I am wont to do, I was scrolling Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, and there was an interaction between a Bucks podcaster and a Bucks fan on Twitter, and the Bucks fan was like saying like, I don't believe any of this story. Like Shams is lying. This is fake news. And there are definitely I don't know how big of a subset in Knicks fandom, but there are definitely a subset of Knicks fans that just like don't believe certain things that may be reported about the team. Like I'm thinking to when Thibodeau was fired and all of the news came out about how James Dolan, I mean, just a winning guy, interjected himself into those proceedings. And there was a large subset of Knicks fans who would read that reporting and say, I don't want to, like, I think this is BS. Like, this is
Hmm.
Leon Rose has a vision. His vision is like with the new coach. So then it comes to us and it's like, well, again, we're trying to service everybody, right? We're trying to be popular to as many people as possible. This is a business. We are trying to get as many eyeballs and downloads and things of that nature. So how do we handle that, so to speak? And I guess the best answer is just handle it honestly and with as much transparency as possible, which is to just be like, look, I believe this. You don't have to believe this. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. And then you put your spin on what you believe and you give your analysis. But again, the intersection with the journalism part of it is fascinating to me, and it's something that I think about a lot. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely we're not that. We're something else.
Well, I think Knicks Film School has come from a place where there's a breakdown in trust in the media, right? Like, that's part of it. We see
Oh,
that
it's a huge
everywhere now.
has to be part of it. Yeah.
And we see that in sports media too. People don't like the news that they don't like. I mean, on the Knicks beat especially, like, listen, having lived it, Knicks fans and the Knicks media have a very confrontational history. I would say
It's good
over the
now. I'll say
it's
for the most part, it's good now.
okay.
I think. But
Well,
yes.
at least while I was there were a lot of Knicks fans who did not like a lot of the Knicks beat writers. If you say it's better now, I'll take your word for it. We'll see when the Knicks have a
Well,
bad season,
yeah, I was about
like
to say
where that goes back to.
it's because they're good. When they're bad, that's when the relationship is bad, and that should surprise nobody.
Yeah, and so people want to get their information from a place that they're comfortable, right? It's the tribalism, right? Like, I'm not saying you're Fox News, but people watch Fox News for a reason. No, 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 no.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting to a larger point. I'm sure you
Yeah, I
didn't
know, I
expect to
hear
be
you.
compared to Fox News on this podcast.
You know
But
what?
people,
Fox News is very successful.
it is, right? Because people want to hear what their view of the world
Yes.
from a certain place.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, because of the distrust in sports media, have gone to other places. And you guys have built, I think, like I had said earlier in the podcast, a small kingdom out of it. And I want to ask you, if I remember earlier in what you were doing, you were covering a few games. You would go to MSG from time to time.
Yeah.
I think you did some reporting earlier on. If I remember, you report some stuff during the Tom Thibodeau coaching search.
Yeah.
Is that a choice you made to step away from the reporting? Like you said, you don't consider yourself a journalist. Was that a conscious decision? Was it just like, I don't want to do this because it takes up too much of my time and I have to build the other stuff and I have a full-time job and a family. Like, what has been your thought about getting into the news part of it? And I'm sure stuff comes your way and because of the profile that you have amongst the Knicks fan base. Like, what's been your theory about getting Knicks Film School into the news business, so to speak?
Um, it's a loaded so, yes, I did cover the team for a period of time for I don't know if Sports Illustrated still exists, but when they were in their period where they were, like, segmenting to, cover specific teams, so it was like SI Knicks, I think is what
Yeah.
my credential actually said, well, for the half a dozen games or so, I got one. Um, and that was cool, and that was really awesome, it was an awesome experience. Ultimately I stopped pursuing that because I did not see it like it's not even that I stopped pursuing it. It's that like when really started doing like blogging about the Knicks, right? The whole goal was just to get hired by whatever, ESPN, The Athletic, the Sporting News. Again, another one. I don't know if that exists. Like, all
Sporting
these
News catching strays today, catching strays.
yeah, whatever. Just someone that would pay me a paycheck to write about the sport that I love in some capacity. And then it just kind of evolved over time where the like sometimes paths just reveal themselves and the path revealed itself that that was not the path for me. Like
Uh-huh.
eventually Knicks Film School got to the point where like today I mean I can't believe I'm saying this out loud and I like if someone did come knocking on my door and be like, "We're gonna like here's the paycheck." I don't know that I would. That's the road that I would go now because
Uh,
I feel like there is a thing here that is its own thing, and there's potential to get even bigger. Um, in terms of like purposefully bypassing the opportunity to break news, like yeah, I hear stuff. Like I heard stuff about the Giannis thing earlier this summer, but to me, it's just like there's maybe more downside risk than upside. And again, this gets back to the journalism thing. Like, I yeah, there's a ton of people who put stuff out there, and we live in we live in a world today where if you're wrong about something, it it's not that it doesn't matter, but like
there's never been less risk to it. Never been less downside to it.
you
People just move on.
you could say whatever the fuck you
Reporters just
want.
move on.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's just something about it that I am like, I don't you know what? If I thought about it more, I'd probably have a better answer for you. There was just something in me a few years ago when it because again, there was a period of time where I'm like, I want to try to be like, the sources guy,
Yeah.
and cultivate that. And then I just got to the point where I'm like, man, I don't have the goods here. Like I don't this is not where what I should be doing. I don't have the expertise. I don't have the connections. Like, yeah, I hear stuff from here, there, or the other place, but until I can, get to a point where it's like, all right, I got my X number of sources and I know this is rock solid. And I think speaking to you guys over the years, speaking to Fred like a lot offline, speaking to Ian on the pod, I remember I've had some great conversations with Ian about this on the show where like the amount of stuff that you guys hear and don't report because you don't have it. Like you don't have it rock solid. I have so much respect for that. And that's just if that's not my wheelhouse, that's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest part of reporting is not writing something or not reporting something, even if you think you got it and you've heard it from a lot of places and you're still not completely confident that it's something that's reportable, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. And I mean, I think it's interesting because you've had people who come like CP and Nick's fan TV is very successful, very popular, right? The Strickland has emerged over the last few years. So there have been other options for Knicks fan that's come up. Why do you
Ones.
think that you guys have been so successful? Like, why do you think that you've resonated? Your writing obviously is personal at times. It's analytical at times. Your podcasts are the same way. You have a lot of different voices. You've incorporated different people over the years. Why do you think that Nick's Film School has been able to become the thing that it has?
Um, I hmm, I think it depends on just what you what what people are looking for. Like you mentioned Knicks Fan TV. Knicks Fan TV, like you talk about getting hired. Like I don't know when it's gonna happen, but at some point, like someone's gonna pick up the phone and snatch up CP, and
They should. He's awesome.
he's gonna be on our on our television sets while I'm still here, putzing around my basement. And that is because like he I think embodies where sports media is today far more than I do, like I just saw again scrolling Twitter. So it's one of the aggregation accounts clipped Stephen A. Smith talking about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Like that's a skill. Like, anybody could say any nonsense, but to be able to sell it and sell it in a way where people have zero doubt that it is genuine, but do it in like more of a um I don't want to say performative, that's the wrong word. But like I think people go to different Knicks sites for different things. Like like I think for more of your rah-rah Knicks fan, I think Knicks Fan TV is the way to go. Like again, going back to the news that just broke, the Giannis stuff. CP I saw put out a video right after that happened with the essentially the you know talking point of like, we don't need Giannis, we got the squad, let's go, let's get it. There are so many Knicks fans out there that's what they want. They want to hear that. And again, see, I'm not questioning. Like CP believes that, and it's again the way he presents it, he's better than anybody at that. I hear the news, and I'm immediately like in front of the camera, in front of this microphone, being like, let's dissect this 18 ways from Sunday, figure out what actually happened this summer, figure out what might happen from here, and oh, by the way, like, yeah, the Knicks could probably use Giannis Antetokounmpo, but that, that's again, that's me. There are fans who want what I bring to the table. There are fans who want what CP brings to the table. You mentioned the Strickland; they bring a certain thing. Like all of these, there are so many other Knicks podcasts out there who do a phenomenal job of covering the team and talking about the team in a certain. I shouldn't say covering the team, of talking about the team in a certain way, and everybody kind of finds their niche. So, yeah, I'm out here and Andrew and Jeremy and the whole team here, we're out here trying to get the biggest slice of the pie. While also acknowledging the fact that like, is that even, can you even get like the whole, like a piece that is above a certain size? Because ultimately there are so many different types of fans out there, and people will come to identify you with a way of talking about and analyzing or whatever else the team, and that's something I struggle with, especially now that it is my full-time job, and I am attempting to. I have two girls I got to put through college. Like,
You're
where
not gonna be able to afford that. I'm just telling you.
I
I'm not. You're not. Like it. Just let that go. Let that
listen.
dream. That's gone.
I've already told my older one, and I'll eventually tell my younger one. Like my older one's in gymnastics, and I'm like, you better keep doing this because this is your ticket. Otherwise,
Knicks Film School is gonna get into the NIL business.
Man, jeez, I'd get into just about any. But that's the thing, is at what point, as you are putting out content, do you? It's not even like compromising your values. It's more about doing something that your core fan base finds like disingenuous.
Yeah.
Like I could go out and I went to a friggin' acting conservatory after college. Like that's what I originally wanted to do. I was a lawyer. You want to talk about people who act for a living? Like I could go out and do the thing and say the thing and play the part, but I'm not. I don't want to sell that, and I don't know that frankly that I could sell that.
Well, I think it's fascinating in so many ways, because now we see everyone, not just let's say competitors in like the sports fan ecosystem. It's that now traditional media is getting into the same lane too, right? Like that's your competition now. Like people like me are starting podcasts and YouTube shows and trying to make that big, right? Like to me, I think what's been fascinating about the change in media over the last decade or so is that us legacy media folk, I'll throw myself in there,
Oh, you
are
are.
are coming to where you are. It's not the opposite way, right? I think for a period of time there was an I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. There's either an attempt or an aspiration to do reporting, and now it's legacy media is trying to be able to speak to fans the way that you guys are, the way that Knicks Fan TV is, the way to be to reach them where they want to be. And I think some are doing it really well and some are struggling at it.
But that's not good. Like that shouldn't.
Hey, you said it. Listen, man, like there's
No,
a lot that's not good about sports media industry right now.
no, I don't mean that. I don't mean like that. Journalists should not have to do that. You know, like there should be enough value in the news in and of itself. Like again, we have like how many newspapers? There's a fun word. How many newspapers or the modern equivalent to newspapers cover the Knicks every day? It's the Post, the Daily News, and I will say the Athletic, right? Am I
And
missing?
Newsday.
And Newsday, excuse me, sorry,
And
because
Newsday.
I'm
And SNY, but they're not a newspaper, you know. But Ian does the job every day.
yes, he does yes, he does the job every day. Like it Bondi with the Post. There's the what do they call it? I'm subscribed to it. I should know. It's
Post
like the
Plus.
Post. What?
Post Plus, I think.
Post Plus. There you go. There's that. You know, like Ian has the putback. You know, I apologize. I'm sure Chris Winfield has something with the Daily News, but like everybody, Fred. I know Fred's not the beat reporter anymore. It's now James Edwards III, but Fred has his Patreon, and James
Mhm.
goes on his Patreon once a week. It's like there's all this different stuff out there because it's like just being a journalist isn't enough. And what I don't like. I
And
don't
I
know,
think that
man.
I think the point that I'm trying to make too is, you know, you're on the putback with Ian Begley sometimes.
I'm honored to be. Yeah.
Yeah, you and Fred have done podcasts. So I think we see this kind of mixing of both worlds now. And so like I don't want to keep you too long, and
No, I love this
I
stuff.
could
I don't
talk
get to
about
talk
this
about
for a
this
long
with
time.
anybody.
Yeah, the business of all this is fascinating to me. Like, obviously, you are doing well enough to make this full-time job, doing well enough to, I think, you wrote in one of your newsletters, I think a few years ago, that Knicks Film School is able to help you buy a house, right? And to help you move. And there are people who are also getting paid out of it. How big do you think this can be? Like, what do you think in terms of revenue that you guys could reach at one point? Like, what's your aspiration?
Well, I mean, I do have a lot of aspirations. I'm not gonna lie about that, and I will. I don't know when this show is coming out. I might as well say it here. I'm launching a daily or not a daily, a 3 times a week NBA podcast. That's
There
going to
you go.
be a little bit of a different spin on your normal NBA pod.
Great. Someone else to compete with. This sucks, man. God, what are we doing here? Get out of here.
I apologize. I do. I really do apologize. But, you know, so that's another lane, you know. I just the way I've thought about Knicks Film School for a few years now is there's scaling up and there's scaling out. And I'm not sure which is which, but basically like how many more people can we reach? And then you get into, well, how do you reach those people? And then that gets into like social media and all of that sort of stuff, which is an area other than Twitter, because Twitter was always kind of easy for me. You know, it's been an area that I've largely avoided.
Mhm.
And I'm now at the point where I feel like, well, I can't really avoid this anymore.
Hey, I made a
Um,
TikTok for the first time last month. Buddy, I'm there with you.
dude, am I? It's
Follow
like,
me on TikTok, I guess. You don't have to. No, I mean, it's TikTok.
what
Don't.
is your TikTok? Say your TikTok. Maybe people don't know what your TikTok
It's just
is.
my name. I'm not, I can't with a straight face ask people to go follow me on TikTok. Like, I'll ask you to subscribe to this show. I'll ask you to follow The Athletic. I can't with a straight face ask you to go on TikTok.
But like
And that's me,
well,
you know.
but I have to now say that, like, to follow me on TikTok and all the other bullshit. Like, my resolution, couldn't get the word out, for this season was to put out one Instagram post a day. Like, I'm getting on a plane to Florida later today, to quick like family trip, but like I'm trying to squeeze in time today to do a video. I thought of this morning. Like, let me do a little video about how the Knicks, maybe for the first time ever, are the best team in New York. You know, like that. Is that going to help Knicks Film School grow? I don't know. But is there a chance, like on the 1 in 10 chance that that video goes viral, or what viral would be for me, which, whatever that is, like, am I inching us forward with that? And I've spent so much time thinking about the value proposition with this stuff, to say nothing of the time it takes to actually do this stuff well. But like, so there's reaching more people, and then there is reaching people and putting out different sorts of content, putting out different sorts of things, and finding new ways to engage with the people maybe you already have, or with prospective new consumers. And the thing with this is, like, I don't think that there is a playbook. I think it does involve some trial and error. Like, obviously you see what other people are doing, you see what other companies are doing, like The Ringer. My I admittedly and liberally steal from The Ringer all the time. My favorite podcast is the Big Picture podcast. It's their Ringer podcast that talks about movies. I've 3, 4, 5 times just completely stolen bits. Like, we did a top 25 Knicks of the last 25 years this summer. Got us through the summer. It was awesome. Stole it completely from the Big Picture. Like, I have no issue following other people's playbooks, but I also don't think that that's enough. Like, ultimately, you do need to try to think of some new ways and different ways. And for me, at least, like, the stress and the pressure of that's probably the toughest part, is feeling like, is there something else I could be doing? Is there a door I'm not knocking on, that would hashtag meaningfully advance this enterprise? And again, there's not gonna be anyone out there to tell you, like, right or wrong answers, because you're trying to be at the forefront.
Does it help if the Knicks are better? Does that make your business better?
I man, I've been
Because you've seen it through the bad days and the good days now. You've had both.
Somebody, after I started telling people that I was gonna be leaving teaching over the summer, someone close to me was like, "Well, it helps that the Knicks are good, but what happens when they're bad?" I was like, "Oh shit, maybe I didn't think this thing through." I think that, look, Knicks fans, God bless us, we will consume the team in good and bad. I will say, as the team has gotten better over the last few years, I have heard from a lot. And again, this is segmentation. What do people want to consume? Specifically, people who have subscribed to the newsletter. I've heard from them saying, like, either, I stopped following the team after the 90s, or I've heard from people like, I stopped following the team seriously after the championship years, and the last few years have brought them back. Now, are those people going to stick with it if the team goes south? I don't know. The only thing I could say, again, in full transparency, is I hope we have built this thing up to such a level where, if the team does become bad and we do backslide a little bit, that we're in a good enough spot to be able to continue to. And I think we are, because I do think that there is enough of a fervent fan base out there to, like, you know, continue to listen and pay attention to the team, even if they weren't good.
So let's get to the actual Knicks of it.
Sure.
What are the expectations for you this year? What are you thinking? How good can this team be?
I think they can make the finals.
Okay.
And look, if you make the finals, look, I don't know how many people gave the 2019 Raptors a chance. I don't know how many people gave the 2010 Mavs or 2011 Mavs a chance. I don't know how many people gave the 2004 Pistons a chance. Like, if you
the Pacers were 24 minutes away from a title.
Man, I mean, I would have loved to see I would have, if the Pacers won the title.
They were up at halftime.
Yes.
Game 7.
I know. And while I wish we would have gotten to see that game play out with Halliburton healthy, if they had won the championship, it would have haunted me something fierce for the rest of my life. Which, by the way, I'm happy to say, because there are times doing this where I have to question, like, do I still have that certain something of fandom that, I think the more you do this, the more it starts to dissipate. And, like, again, the pain of, like, again, game 1 against Indy and just, like, watching the rest of that playoffs let me know, like, yeah, I'm still very much a fan. Anyway, So if they make the finals, who the hell knows what could happen? I think they're capable of making the finals. I wrote today for the Knicks Film School newsletter. It's a shameless plug for the Substack. If
I hope this entire show is a shameless plug for your entire endeavor. I hope people subscribe.
Man, I just miss talking to you. We used to, like, for anybody listening to this, I don't know if anybody cares. Me and Fork used to be able to talk all the time.
We can still talk. I got replaced by Fred Katz and by James Edwards. I get it. Better people, newer people come around. Younger folks, they come around.
You know, I'm just thankful, I'm the Athletic is very fortunate, and I feel good for them that they survived the Fred Katz era covering the Knicks, and they were up here, and then they went down here, and they came out of it in one piece. And I mean, that was some real touch and go stuff, with him. But Fred will be okay, Anyway,
thank God for James Edwards.
Thank God for really anybody but Fred Katz. But yes, thank God for James Edwards. Again, right? It's like Berman and Fred. If I could crap on them, it's just there's nothing better. Two amazing human beings.
There's gonna be a lot of people. There's gonna be people listening to this show and not getting a lot of Knicks inside jokes, and that's okay. That's okay. That's just fault. Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I wrote today that if you gave me $1 million to place on one East team to make the finals, I would bet on the Knicks. And I don't say that as a homer or a fan or anything. I just think they are the most likely team. What odds would I give them to make the finals? I don't know. 35%, 40%, something like that. Like, I don't know that I put it above 50. And then once you get there, like, I have a hard time envisioning a world where I would genuinely pick the Knicks to beat whoever makes it out of the West. But you never know. Crazier things have happened.
I'm going to make it full circle. We started this pod and this show talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Knicks. I want to end it there. And the last question for you. Will he be a Knick? Should he be a Knick?
What do you mean should? Like, according to...
Would you like to would you like to see the team form in a way that would have to, take away, strip away some of the talent and whatever assets there are remaining? There's an opportunity cost, right? There's always an opportunity cost.
To really get into the nitty gritty, I don't think this is a popular opinion. I think the biggest issue with the team last year is they just did not like playing with each other. And I'm obviously a big Thibodeau stan. I think the coach maybe had a little bit to do with that, maybe a lot to do with that. But I'm still trepidatious about the fact that they have a lot of guys who, I don't know if they need the ball, but I think they want the ball. Why do I say this? The notion of swapping out two of your best players for one Giannis Antetokounmpo, and maybe they find a way in that transaction to bring in someone of slightly lesser talent, but who is a rotation player, right? On its face, I actually don't think that's. I actually don't think they would be necessarily hurt by swapping out multiple high level talents for one uber talent and then less. Where and would I do it? Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is a way to do it, by the way, if and again, it has a little bit to do with what Milwaukee's desires are. Obviously, it has a lot to do with how much pressure Giannis Antetokounmpo is willing to exert in the marketplace. But in a vacuum, would I do like a 2-for-1 for Giannis? Yes. There would be questions about like who's remaining and what would the spacing be. Like, is Giannis, is he going to be like a full-time 5 in the next couple of years? Like, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, man, I think NBA history is pretty, maybe not undefeated, but it's pretty good winning percentage. Like, if you get one of these guys, and Giannis is like, he's one of those guys, and you pair him with a guy like Brunson, who is not on Giannis's level, obviously, historically, but is a pretty good ball player. Good things tend to happen. And so, yes, I would very much embrace. Do I think it will happen? I'll say this: I give it a better chance than the Knicks winning the title this year.
I don't know if that makes you bullish or bearish on these things.
I don't know either. No, I don't know. Flip a coin. I don't think he's long for Milwaukee, and I do think he is going to be able to exert some control here. Yeah. So I guess
I think he's already trying to exert his control here.
Can we? I know we're going to run along. for all the funniest thing to emerge for me from the whole thing that over the last 48 hours or whatever it's been is all the people who were like, well, would he publicly like do this or this? And I'm like, what do you think this was? Like, what, where, again, I'm not, I was on with Ian yesterday and I like tried to tiptoe around the question and he like did not take the bait, but like, where do we think Shams is like getting this at least partially from? Like, if, if not from like the Giannis camp, whatever that
Yeah, I think the pressure campaign has begun from Giannis.
Yeah, come
I think
on.
that much is clear.
He
Where
said
it ends?
He said in front of a microphone yesterday, check back with me in 6 or 7 months. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? You know?
I will say, depending on where Brooklyn is in June and May, that might be an interesting second option for him to consider.
Look, a lot can change in a year. Jeez, I mean, rewind, what, 7 years ago, nobody thought Brooklyn was going to be a viable destination. And look, maybe Durant just wanted to go to an organization where he was going to be able to exert some of his own control on things, and it was always going to be Brooklyn and not New York. But I have to think that the Nets being certainly competent that year, 2018-19 season helped.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows? Maybe the Nets go out there and win, I don't know, 40 games this year. I don't see it, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, I'll end it there. If you're a Knicks fan and you're for some reason not subscribed to John and Knicks Film School, you're doing it wrong. So do that. Go subscribe to him. I'll have a link with this show when it comes out. Go subscribe to the newsletter, to the Patreon. When go on to YouTube, subscribe to the Knicks Film School channel there. When you're done there, go over subscribe to this show as well if you have a second. Everyone, thank you for watching and for listening. John, thank you for coming on to this show. I'm Mike Vorkunov. We'll catch you on the next episode of Business Decisions.